the country. Whatever the real perception was in Washington, the McNamara for Vietnam, I don't know, but the men died thinking they were doing something in all of the wars, the Civil War, the First World War, the Second World War, Vietnam, Korea, all of the modern-day wars. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans gave their lives and ate dirt and buried all over the world. And
right.
This joker comes to Washington, this fascist, and takes over the government. And he is bringing the country down. And we're letting him because we don't want to break the law. Now, how ridiculous can you get?
That's right.
We're watching the Titanic sink, and we're on it, but we can't do anything because it's illegal for us to do something.
And his right-hand man says, don't let a good crisis go to waste. And wouldn't you know it that they're talking about cap and trade measures and everything like that. But what's interesting is, we talk about this direct energy, scalar technology, and the idea, free energy is at our fingertips. And we can't do anything about it.
Colonel Tom Bearden is actually has a patent on a free energy machine. And you haven't heard a word about it because he was stopped. But he's actually the holder of the patent for a machine with no moving parts that puts out more electrical energy than it takes in.
Wow, that's amazing. And how would you say it's an expensive thing to build? Does anybody know if it's an expensive thing to build, or if somebody could say, people that are trying to prepare for civil unrest or whatever catastrophe we're facing, is there any way to get an idea how to build something like that?
Yes, I think general plans are available. I'm not sure that the diagrams available have component values, or they may. I just haven't looked at it, but I think time is too short. I think time is too short to do that. I would go with batteries and solar and backup generators and gasoline, or propane rather. Propane would be a much nicer fuel for the generators that would last longer, and but there are a lot of things you have to come up to speed on, and we're running out of time. I'm not sure that it may be too late right now for people just starting. It may be too late.
Right. And I'll tell you what, it's come on like gangbusters. I mean, I really didn't think, to be honest with you, when George Bush left office, that, how could it get any worse than him? Whoa, boy, was I wrong. And it did. It's exponentially worse, because it's like George Bush on steroids times 10. And that's people say, well, this November what we're going to do is we're going to throw these bums out on their butt and the Republicans are going to save the day. But what people don't think about when they say something like that is, the Republicans are just as guilty. The left-right paradigm is something that's totally false. It's meant to deceive people, and we take a look at how much division has come from that left-right paradigm. Among other ways, they divide the population. It's really sad, but 2001, 2002, the Republicans actually oversaw the largest expansion of government in our history with that Department of Homeland Security, which has got us what? If you think about it in the grand scheme of things, what is it really? What is the Patriot Act really? It's a way to control people. It's a way to rein in the population, which is what they've done. And I mean, not just from a natural disaster standpoint. I mean, we're getting hit at all angles by all different things that this just cannot go on this way. And the United States and the world as a whole can't survive this way. So, I guess where do you see this going from here, Griff? What's your gut telling you?
I see a collapse coming up, but I see pockets of revolution before the total collapse. Let's go toward the money a little bit here.
Sure.
This might be a good time to talk about the United States, what we call money. The Federal Reserve is like Federal Express. It's a private company. The Federal Reserve has no connection whatsoever to government.
Correct.
private company. You can find them in the white pages of the phone book in the 10 cities that have the Federal Reserve banks. The Federal Reserve buys the dollars from the printing office of the government. They print it and sell it to the Federal Reserve for the cost of the paper and the ink. And then the Federal Reserve takes that paper that some people call money. They're actually Federal Reserve notes. Joe, if you'll reach in your pocket, I'm sure you have a $1 bill in there, and you put it in front of you and you look at it above the portrait, it tells you what that piece of paper is. Do you have a dollar in front of you?
Nope.
That's what they've done to you, Joe. They've taken
I know.
dollar.
I know. It's
okay,
electronic money.
Let me tell you what's up over the portrait. It says Federal Reserve Note, N-O-T-E.
Right.
Federal Reserve Note. It's on the 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100, on and on. They're all the same in that respect. It's a Federal Reserve Note. Now, I challenge you or anybody else out there, or anybody, you take the next year to ask banks or bankers or anybody in finance, ask teachers, or even go to the Federal Reserve and ask them in your city or in Washington, what does the word note mean? What is the legal definition of the word note, N-O-T-E, on the piece of paper? Now, Joe, what do you think the note is?
Well, when I think of note, I think of like a bank note or the note on your vehicle or something. If you get a loan,
is it a promissory note?
It's a promissory note.
Okay,
yeah.
So that so-called money that you have, they're individual promissory notes from the Federal Reserve. Black's Law Dictionary defines it like that. So it's a promissory note. Now, having said that, what is the Federal Reserve promising?
That's a good question. What are they promising? They will pay us the amount of money shown on there, but what is it?
Well, now, if you took your $1 into the bank and say, I want to redeem your note, here it is, redeem it, what will they give you?
A blank stare?
They'll give you another note.
Another note, right.
They'll give you a note.
And the blank note, yeah.
And you say, this is your note. It's a promissory note. By a definition of law, I want you to redeem your note. Just like if you borrowed money from the bank, they would have you sign a promissory note that you'll repay them.
Right.
And you'll have to repay them in promissory notes.
Well, that doesn't make much sense now, does it?
So if you work all your life, you're working to get pieces of paper from a private company that are indeed promissory notes, but no one knows what it means. No one knows what they're promising, not even the Federal Reserve. I've gone all the way to Washington, and I've had employees walk the halls up there going to the lawyers and executives, and nobody knows what a promissory note is from the Fed. It's not money, it's a promissory note.
That's
and
amazing.
It's not a promissory note from the government, it's a promissory note from a private company called the Federal Reserve.
And again, promising what? What are they promising?
Well, they're not promising anything, but it's not money, you see. Now, you work 8 hours a day or more, 40 hours a week, some people, to get promissory notes from a Federal Reserve company. And everybody is out trying to get more promissory notes. Well, they print promissory notes recently, another $1 trillion, but it's not a dollar, you see. They call it a dollar, but it's not a dollar. It's a promissory note. So the government has printed $1 trillion-something promissory notes to pay debts.
And
they
really,
will tax you. And they will tax you through the numbers on the pieces of paper that you work for. They will tax you based on the 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 numbers on that green paper. They will take a percentage.
Wasn't that basically what was printed whenever Lincoln printed his fiat currency?
Lincoln did a lot of dastardly things back in his time. Lincoln was not the man that people think he was. and he didn't free the slaves or any of that stuff.